Say hello to everyone. We are back again. We have Eric so far, and we have D, Series, Patricia, and me. So, how are you then? Hello. How are you then, Eric? What's been happening with you then?
Well, I've been on these sites on the forums, getting my getting the knowledge out there, trying to find some new recruits, I guess. I don't know.
It's quite hard work, isn't it?
Yeah. I haven't found many. One or two I'm interested.
Well, I was talking to someone today who said that they wanted to come on our Hangout. They weren't in our group, but they, you know, obviously if they come to the Hangout and they like it, they might come to our group, but they've gone silent now. You never know, you might come back.
I've been trying to get some pictures and all that stuff and some compass readings and stuff, but lost my phone 2 or 3 days ago.
No!
And yeah, and it's been kind of rainy and we had the moon out like 3 nights ago, that's about it. So it's not really great weather over here for that.
It's pouring down with rain and thundering here. Does that mean you've not found your phone then?
No phone, but I'm looking for a new one.
Oh no!
It's gonna be another iPhone, yeah. Well, it's gonna be the same, pretty much the same phone, but I'm just gonna have to find the programs again and all that stuff.
What's the name? Do you remember what the name of your app is that you use on your phone for the compass readings?
It's the Theodolite. T-H-E-O.
Really?
Yeah, just gotta.
What are you date in the picture? That was the problem with Theodolite.
Because we couldn't see that it had a date on it. But it does.
A date on it?
It does on it.
It has everything.
But it does have a date on it, Series, because those are the ones that Eric's been giving us.
Where?
That app, remember, in the Hangout last night, somebody asked, oh, I really like that app, the first one in the April file, or May file. So, when we had a look, it was you, Eric, and that's the Theopodite. And it does have a date on it, because we've told people not to use that, because when we looked, because they give a sample of it, it had no date on it.
There's one with a square in the middle, and that's what we get from them, and those don't have the...
Yeah, that's the Theopodite one.
Don't have the date.
Eric's do.
I thought they had the date on it. Yeah, I thought they had the date on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It does have the date on it, Series.
Looking in the pink post image.
A little doubt here.
Hang on, let's have a look. Isn't it on the right-hand side at the bottom?
You have the time on top and latitude, longitude, and then elevation on the right side, and azimuth on the bottom. But there's no date. Oh.
Well done, my darling. Thanks,
yeah,
Patricia.
Yeah.
So it does have a date on it.
Theodolite has that particular problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say most of them are posted on the date that are like. There's maybe one or two that
That's why we know what date it is.
Well, I could add. I'll add them on next time. I'll just put it in pink to just slap a date on there. I never noticed that.
What it was is, Eric, we started off by just asking people for compass readings, and that's what we did. Me, I was using just the compass on the phone, and then when we started to really start adding all this stuff to the program, we realised that we needed the dates, times, everything, because someone then could come back and go, prove it to us. So Tyson had given us, thank you Tyson, hundreds of readings all written, which we know he's telling the truth. We know he's not lying, but we can't just produce bits of paper, you know, like this one. That's not enough, because if someone asks us to prove it, what do? Get pictures with writing on it. We need pictures. because it's just, that's the most proof you can give, isn't it? Picture, time, date, longitude, latitude, tilt.
Yeah, so what I call it is just proof of recording.
Yeah, just the complete numbers. Like, yeah.
But
I almost left that on my next one.
It's kind of our mistake because, like we said, Tyson, we asked for compass readings, which we got. But it was only on hindsight when we started adding them to the program, we realised that we needed the reading and the picture. Because without the date, we could say it's the 1st of May and it could have been the 1st of January. You know, then people will say, oh look, you've just been adding loads of readings and sticking whatever you want on there. Yeah. The time, the date, the picture. Then it's proof, isn't it? Thanks for adding your friend, Patricia. All done. I've commented back. But, I mean, you know, the more we've got into it, we realised that. So, Tyson gave us, God, how many did he give us? 500 readings? They're all entered. It's just, and they're on the programme. It's just proof side. We can't use them.
Did I upload paper?
Sorry?
Did I upload this last post?
I don't know. So what? Because he gave some readings a few weeks ago or something, a week or two ago. He put loads of readings on. I don't know.
I never uploaded those.
Not sure.
Anyway, to see them, record them.
But... So, Eric, what did you think? What did you think of my latest? So, what do you think of my latest little video then with the paused astronaut?
I loved it. I liked it. Was it like a? Is it two? Do you think it's two images, like a composite, or one is actually just like a dummy or something? I don't know.
No, because he was moving around. So what it was is that there's about 20 minutes of somebody's put ISS space station stuff together, and I was actually looking for ones that look more like they were in a swimming pool, because it is.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it, I was doing something, and then I suddenly thought, it went on, and I suddenly thought, he wasn't. What it is he's moving around. Then it where he goes, okay, Dan, I'll be doing these things, okay, or something like that. And when it comes back, the one on the left's moving around, and all these things are floating around, just like in a swimming pool. And the other one's stuck there, not moving.
Yeah. Half not moving, and the other half everything moving.
Which means,
So weird.
which means they pasted them together.
The other guy, yeah, they cut the other guy.
That means that even though, say for instance, he was moving, that means that they're there, but they're not there together.
Yeah, like the two, like a layered image. They took one at one point, and you know they cut out the scuba divers. I've seen a couple where you know where they see the scuba divers. You know they're kind of blacked out or something in the background. So maybe they're using like a double image. You know, one with that one guy working, and when they're lifting them to put them in the position, because it's probably a lot of weight on those suits. They're being pushed into these positions. They're being told not to move their feet, you know, or to make like they're swimming. So their legs and stuff are pushed into position by these scuba divers.
Yeah.
And then blacked out afterwards and green screen for us.
Could I just say, someone sent me a link. I put it on Sun and Moon. It was about someone, I think he died 2002, but he was talking about NASA's figures about what happens if you go into space. So say a 160-pound man becomes 40 or 50 pound. So anything that was done in space should be quite easy to do because nothing is as heavy as on Earth. But they explained that, say for instance, they jumped onto the moon, they would bounce right up in the air and go like half a mile up and then come down because of this supposedly space and weightlessness. You know, you never see that, do you? So they'd have to be so careful coming out because if they overdo something, they're just going to bounce off. So they're just lying about the whole thing.
But even the whole 1/6 part is like, you know, if you're supposedly 1/6 your gravity or your weight in any kind of area, I mean, you're gonna technically jump 6 times your height.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
6 times, yeah.
But now, when I look at it, all I see is a swimming pool. And the thing is that I was actually putting this, or using this video, and I thought, it does sound like Jeren. And then when he said me and my wife, and I thought, it is Jeren. But unless someone has videoed his video and then put it under their name, because it definitely didn't say Jeren. But he was explaining, so Jeren knows space is fake, for sure. So I don't know why he thinks that they're watching his programme and altering everything, because he knows it's fake. But he did the same thing. He had one with a bag on it, and he was trying to explain, if the bag was attached to the astronaut, the bag would then be moving with the person, and it's not. The bag's doing its own thing, because really, that's a scuba diver. So they've airbrushed half of him out and left half of him in there. And what he reckoned on his video was that they were fighting. They were fighting.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Who, me? Me?
Oh.
Now she completely.
Who?
Yeah, it's with the camera, I guess.
Oh, I'll turn my camera off. Come back button.
Probably the double recording and streaming.
Yeah, I'm trying to upload last night's video. Let me just... Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but I see you still.
Okay, I'll just take the camera off for a second when I get the camera's not coming up. Ah! We're up, there it is.
The button, click screen.
That's it, no camera now. What were we saying? Oh yeah. So, and what it was is, as they were, this programme, they have a studio with 13 cameras, and then on some of them, when you zoomed in, they were actually taking bits out, you know, they were masking bits, which, why would you be doing that? And then you could actually see, even though they kind of airbrushed the people out, you could see the flippers of the scuba diver shine in the water. You got the flipper going across. So it's just like, oh my god. It's just...
And you saw this on one of is this one of Jaren's vids?
Well, it was, yeah.
And it got pulled from or he didn't post it, or what?
No, what it was is that when I was listening to it, I thought, well, that sounds like Jeren. But I looked at the name and it didn't say Jeren. It said a completely different name, which is in, I've used it in the video. I show you that it's a completely different name. But it's Jeren.
I'm pretty sure his videos, a couple of his vids that are reposted by, you know, other guys and researchers. I mean, that could. I thought I was watching Mig Mag or Mix Mag, and it turned out to be an odd TV, odd reality or ODD.
Yeah.
Like it was on another. You know, sometimes they're sharing other people's vids, and not to steal or work or anything, but I mean, sometimes the vids get pulled, or they're just, I don't know, have a hard time to find them again. There's one where we were talking about a little bag that's floating in the wind kind of thing, and this is from the 71 trip that they supposedly went to the moon, and you see a bag floating in the background, and then they kind of, you know, tell the astronauts, which are probably in some kind of water environment or some kind of pressurized environment, and you know, yeah, he tells them to go stop the bag. You know.
As soon as their suits go into a vacuum, you can see.
Yeah, they get that stiffness.
Much particular lack of pressure on the outside, and you can't see it anywhere.
I was wondering how big they could make a place like that. Like, so how big does like a vacuumed area? I mean, they could probably give the illusion of a really big place, but I mean, it's got to have some kind of distance. I mean, is it, you know, a 20-foot room, a 30-foot room, and then like.
Yeah, in the swimming pools, there's loads of cameras, right? And whenever they're shooting them or videoing them, they're only videoing round that astronaut. So maybe it's very easy. They just point the camera at the bit, and so they're only showing you what they want you to see. I mean, I was watching a bit the other day about the space station, and the whole thing looks like a storeroom. I mean, there's just wires everywhere. First of all, the space station would be aerodynamic more. They weren't that stupid when they made, you know, that time they made it, or supposedly made it. It would be a lot more aerodynamic than it is. The second thing is, it wouldn't have wires all over the floor, all over hanging out. This thing looks flipping dangerous. It's just ridiculous.
Compartmentalization also. I mean, if one part gets a supposed meteor, little micro meteor going through it, the whole, I mean, if it's in a vacuum, the whole thing is going down. It's not like, okay, block off this section. No, it's all one part, all this big tubing kind
I
of
don't
thing.
even think it has airlocks in it, does it?
Yeah, I think there's that one airlock door where it's basically a plastic door that waffles in the wind, but there's no, between sections, there's nothing that blocks off. You see them, when they do those little tours, you see them floating through and jumping through, and they're flying through these, or floating through these sites, and it doesn't make any sense, really.
I wish people would realise that when they're outside and all these things are sort of waving in the wind, you know, like straps on their bags or a strap on that, it's just waving, but it's not in the wind, that's in water. They move just like they're in water. And the thing is, you're right, because they're on Earth and they're heavy, then they need the scuba divers to put them in place. They need the help from the scuba divers.
They
And
start flipping their legs like they're swimming and stuff. We're gonna, you know, to start waving their arms and stuff. They got to be pushed into these positions to make it look like they're just, you know, tapping on this one spot to move to another, tapping on this one spot. But I mean, I guess they're not afraid of micrometeors. They're not afraid of.
But have you seen though on the footage? There's still wires on the outside. Like, why would you have all the wires on the outside?
Yeah.
It's going 17,000. I just don't. When I'm talking to people, like someone I was working for today, she's lovely, but she just thinks I'm crazy, and I think, you think I'm crazy? That thing's going 17,000 miles an hour. Are you serious? You'd never be able to record it. In fact, we wouldn't even see it. People think that they see the ISS space station at 17,000 miles an hour. What would you see? A spark going across the sky if you're lucky.
Yeah, there's a video going around with a fighter jet going by a ship, and he goes about 700 miles or something.
Yeah.
And going in front of you.
Yeah, I think I put that on series. I put that on.
17,000 miles.
Yes, 17,000. I put that on series because someone put it on one of my posts to say, look, this is the speed of a fighter jet, and it goes whoosh, and you can see all this vapour around it because it's going so fast. But we're talking. Yeah. That's going what? We're talking 17. You'd never see it, would you?
You've got to take into account relative distance, unfortunately, on that. No, I hate to be the one who brings it down again. But
yeah, but would distance make any difference, Steve? If it was going 17,000 miles, it'd still be like a streak.
Yeah, no. No, it is fast, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying I can see it or I've seen it or it is there, but apparently you only get about 5 minutes of it in view, and that, considering how much of the sky you can see, I mean, 5 minutes isn't a lot. And I'm sure with that calculation, I'm sure you could put a calculation in 5 minutes over whatever distance and work out exactly how fast that bit of light they say the ISS is actually moving. But
it's the same thing like in 9/11, you know, in the planes.
If you're looking at a motorway and you're stood right next to the motorway, those cars are going whoosh, 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 whoosh. But you walk back 100 metres and those cars are going a bit more sedately. You walk back another 100 metres, they're going even more sedately. You walk back till they're almost not even visible, and they barely look like they're moving at all. So
I'm glad you said the visible part.
Yeah.
ISS is practically the same size as the Boeing 747. And that's
that's what I mean. I really don't agree it is what they say it is, where it is, and all that. So I was just like for bringing out the globehead argument.
Also, it's a bit like the same thing they did with the 9/11, the planes. They said those things were going 500-600 miles an hour. We would never have seen them really, they were going so fast. On all the footage, they don't look like they're going 700 miles an hour. They look like they're going landing speed.
Was that aeroplane, sorry?
Yeah, the planes into the Twin Towers, the same thing. They're not going 600-700 miles an hour, those planes. In the
I'd
videos.
have to have a look at that footage again properly, to be fair, because I've only ever really seen, like, I mean, obviously I saw it live when it happened, when the plane hit the second building.
You didn't.
I'm not really into the 9/11 conspiracy, really.
You never saw a plane hit the building. On the footage they showed you and the news, and if it happened, there is no aeroplane. The aeroplane turns up in the evening news. When it actually happened,
I remember seeing it live.
there's only a little object coming in. 1 second, I've got a call. Hang on.
Well, yeah, right, yeah, it could possibly be that one.
Elaine, I want to hang
Yeah, I
out.
did see something coming in and hitting it anyway, but that's just my memory, and my memory
Pardon?
is the greatest, and it was a long time ago. Like I say, I mean, the 9/11 is not a massive conspiracy for me.
Oh, I'm going to have a quick look. Hang on.
It's just not. It's obvious.
Just carry on a minute. My neighbour's just told us that her garage got flooded through the rain, so I'm just going to have a quick check on my garage. Carry on, guys.
Yeah.
Get the sandbags. I've always kind of heard that the whole thing about it's reflecting the sun, the ISS reflecting the sun. It doesn't help the cause, I'm going to say, for globally, because if it's reflecting the sun, first off, we're looking at a dot here, and the ISS is not a dot. It's got form, it's got some kind of. It doesn't have its own light source, and if it were reflecting the sun, I'm pretty sure it'd have to be a lot further than 420 kilometers or 320 kilometers. And that's what they're saying, that at the furthest, at its furthest orbit, it's at 420 kilometers, and its closest is at 320 or 300 kilometers. So even at 300.
Yeah, so technically you should only really be able to see it during the day or very early evening or very early morning then.
Yeah, like on the sun on horizon, sure, okay.
Because of the
temperature.
Yeah, that's why it's glowing white. Yeah, because it's so hot, because they've never earthed it, or they've never what's the word? It was second Newton's whatever law. I can't remember which one.
Thermodynamics?
Yeah, I can't remember which law it is, but yeah, this is the one that says basically that they need to get the heat away from it somehow, and that's never happened.
I can't seem to find any that, or any information that really confirms, other than the X-15 or the J-12, I don't know, jets, really Mach 5, the really high flying, high altitude jets. I can't find the real info on where's that thermosphere and where's the cold part. I found like variant 80 kilometers, then 90 kilometers, then this thing's at 420 kilometers, then I don't know where the thermosphere starts, and troposphere and all that stuff.
or the
The thermosphere is absolutely massive, and the fluctuations just in the thermosphere itself are massive. So I mean, it's like, well, how can this be one layer and have so much variance? And where does the variance start? Could it be as hot at the bottom as it is at the top? Well, I mean, they don't tell you where the variances occur. They just say there's these variants in temperatures. And sorry to cut you off there, series. I'm going to make a drink, so I'll mute for a second.
Yeah, that's what I remember. But funny thing was that the line of the temperature was almost like a Mandelbrot.
Yeah.
The low ball and then the big ball on top of it, and it really got around it in that. So you saw the temperature go up to over 2,000 degrees or something. Nothing works there. Everything breaks down there.
Yeah.
I mean, even magnets, you know.
Back
Yeah,
now.
man, it's Curie, temperature, all that stuff. What's that happening?
Well, it was Karen's video, wasn't it, that said there's only like 4 elements that can survive at that temperature, and none of them are used on those. Was it
Exactly.
Karen's video? I've watched a few lately. I know Karen's may have brushed on it.
We're talking about how hot the temperature is. When they go out, supposedly, it's going to be really hot or really cold.
Yeah. Who knows?
And you know, I'm pretty sure that those spacesuits would never be able to cope with the vacuum. And then basically, even if say they weren't squashed and boiled and all that kind of stuff in their suits, expanded, the moment they actually came in, sort of like the opposite of what a diver does, but the same sort of thing, decompressurizes to come from the vacuum, they would then, what do you call it? They would go inside out. Their bodies would just go. That's what everything happens to everything when they open the door after the vacuum. They collapse. I think what happens is we say things like marshmallows and plastic, takes the air out, and then it does the other thing, like it just inverts itself. It collapses in because the vacuum's then inside the item. They open the door, it just collapses.
Yeah, so you go into the vacuum, you're losing all your water in that sense that everything becomes bubbles, and the air bubbles go out. Hey, you look.
Hey, you did!
Hello, Yudi. Namaste.
Hello, Judith. So 1 second, series. Judith, we've got Eric, who is a Canadian man living in France. We've got D, series, Patricia, me, and you.
Hey, Patricia. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Yudi.
Hi.
Hello. So, we're talking about space, astronauts, lies, and Series was just saying something when you came on. So what were you saying, Series?
Yeah, as soon as you into the vacuum, you lose a lot of air and water, and then when you go back again, you don't have that, and nothing is replaced, so you actually shrink in that sense.
But you know what? If we had lots of bubbles in our blood, first of all, it would either give you a heart attack, a stroke, and I mean, it boils things without heat. I don't think when you watch the water boiling in the vacuum, it's hot. It's just making loads of bubbles come in it. It's taking out all the oxygen out of the water. And then, wait for it, water turns into gas, right? And freezes. So they would freeze. This is ridiculous.
I thought they would maybe like explode because they look at like sonoluminescence when they have the water losing all its ball of water in I think it's a vacuum area. I'm not sure, but you have that sonoluminescence, and it just pops and it explodes on itself. So
Yeah.
maybe they would explode.
So you've got to go through being crushed, expanding it. So I think the crushing is the expanding thing as well, because it's sort of crushing and expanding. I don't know quite how it does all this, but it does. And then water boils as they get through all that. They come back through the lock. They get in, and then they're just going to go. They'll be half the size they were when they went out. God, it's just ridiculous. You've only got to go and look it up. I mean, I wouldn't have known this.
Pretty risky diet if you don't want to lose weight.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is that people like called me an idiot on my post, but one of those astronauts, he's standing on something without holding on to anything, doing 17,000 miles an hour. And yes, maybe he has got something which attaches him, his air, whatever it is, or a cord with, you know, his cords which attach. But I mean, he's just standing there. If he fell off, really, would the thing not would keep him there? I'm sure. Like, then what is between supposedly him and Earth is nothing except the drop. standing there as if anybody can balance themselves on the end of the ISS without holding anything at 17,000 miles an hour.
Because there's no air resistance. That's the thing. You're in space. There's nothing to resist that movement, so you will stay at the relative motion as long as you're.
Yeah, the lie, because they're not. They're in a vacuum, and a vacuum's completely different. They'd be going out and they'd be like expanding, bubbling, blowing up. It just. But it's the same thing, though, isn't it?
You would need a solid suit. You would literally need a solid suit to be able to survive the vacuum. And I mean, even then, it's like if we're going underwater in a submarine. We can only go down so far in a submarine before the pressure collapses. The submarine. It's pretty much the exact same thing, but in reverse in space. Yeah.
You're very quickly.
Whatever is around you from expanding into the vacuum.
Because I know that
it needs to be solid. We can't use cloth. They cannot use.
Yeah,
cloth.
and they use cloth. I know Eric wants to say something, but those suits were made for high altitude flying. That's what their suits were made of to start with, and they haven't really changed in 40 years. So doesn't that tell you something? They're high altitude in Earth atmosphere. So what?
The first suits, the first prototypes for those suits were like what you're saying is they were like underwater suits. They were hard cased. They look funny to us now, I guess, but they still look like the big circle thing here with the kind of grill in the front, and that's the first prototypes, the first spacesuits. And then you look at the Orion that they're trying to build now, called the Orion, which is basically 4 times or like 10 times the size of the space shuttle, and that's what's supposed to get to the Van Allen house. And that thing is like it's reinforced, like iron, super huge thing. It has nothing to do with what they're sending up now, supposedly gliding back to Earth.
Except they don't glide back, does it? It's got engines on it.
No, not engine.
It's just like, how have they managed to do this to us? We were obviously that trusting.
Because, like I say, I mean, this is why I keep bringing the globe head arguments into it, just to remind you how these people think more than anything, if you know what I mean. Because this is it. In that model, it does all make sense as long as you just think about that model. So, and that's what I mean. You got to break people out of that model, and that's what got me breaking me out of that model. Because I'd still be thinking exactly the same. I'd be laughing at you guys now. I'd be laughing at myself now. I mean, really, I would, because it all makes sense. Kind of. Again, obviously, until you start.
Except when you start to do your own research, like looking up what a vacuum actually is. It's the last.
I've never seen a vacuum. I don't know what it does, but the only thing that got me when I brought my globe mindset to this was gravity, and that if they're orbiting at 17,000 miles per hour, okay, fine. They're at 320 kilometers, fine. But isn't the Earth spinning at 1,045 miles per hour? How does that play? Isn't the Earth spinning around the sun? How does that play? Isn't the sun spinning around the galactic center? You know, like as soon as you go past that one, okay, they're in orbit, but we're spinning also.
Yeah.
I just confuse it.
Yeah, it's the free-body problem, isn't it? It works very well when you're thinking about just Earth and just the ISS, but as soon as you add that third body in, poof, yeah, that's it. It goes out the water.
And not just that, they're supposed to see 17 sunrises and 17 sunsets a day. The people on there would never know what day of the month. They'd never know whether they were coming or going.
I wonder this. You can see this particular famous guy going to a huge vacuum chamber. Let this particular test see if how fast feathers are falling and a bowling ball is falling.
Oh, that's Brian Cox. Yeah, sorry.
Except that was fake as well. All they did was take a still of a picture. They faked that as well.
When he actually drops this in a vacuum, they go as fast as the same speed. But what they never will show you is actually a man in a spacesuit in that factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they tried it, that guy's bloody almost died, didn't he? His spit started boiling on his tongue and all sorts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Eric, last night what we said was, when they, because supposedly Trump says there's a mission going, I can't remember if it's to Mars or the moon, and it's supposed to be in the year 2020, but we said they can go on it. They can go on the rocket. We're not going on the rocket. They can go on the rocket. Let's put Trump and all these other people on the rocket.
Send him off.
Because you know, they
Yeah.
crash. They don't go into space, so... It's just ridiculous, isn't it? All that time when those rockets are coming down over the sea or blowing up in mid-air. So, when those astronauts, remember there was about, whatever it was, in the 80s, do you think that was an accident, that the rocket wasn't supposed to blow up there and they had to say, oh my God, we've lost the whole crew? Because we didn't. They're still alive and they're either their twin brother or whatever it is. Do you think that that was by accident, or do you think they planned that rocket to break up so that they died to make news? Imagine how many weeks we'd have been...
I do think that was an accident, and yeah, that they just had to make the best of it, if you know what I mean. And I mean, that's why you see the family laughing and stuff, because the family down there, that they know that everything's okay. So yeah.
But imagine all the hype and the lies and all the... You think people would have cried thinking, oh my God, we've just lost 12, whatever it was, 10 people. Oh my God. It was all lies.
I think they needed a lot of attention at that point. From the late 80s, so what, 17 years after the last, 16 years after the last moon mission or whatever. I mean, they need to create interest, create a drama, create a problem, create a solution. I mean, send a teacher up there and all kinds of different parts of society in on this to create the drama. Whether or not they make it, you know, they could have just faked it or whatever. I mean, that didn't really change much. But even if it did crash, I mean, it still creates an interest. You have to do that. That's why they stopped the moon mission. There's no more interest. People thought, okay, we went, it's all good, did 6 times in 3 years, and we're not, why go back? It costs so much, right? You have to create an interest.
If it was so wonderful, don't you think we'd have had pleasure cruises by now? You know, like people going up there, you know, we've got balloons, we've got people going balloon trips, and there was Concorde. Don't you think that they would have had trips by now so we can go to the edge of space? Of course they can't, because then everybody would know we were flat.
In a way, we would already have built a huge ring around the Earth, connecting with all kinds of lines to the Earth, with all the ability of have a lift to space, and start from there. We would have figured a way other methods to actually travel space already.
Yeah, that they've been talking about the old space elevator since I was a very young teenager, so from the 90s at least.
Yeah, if you want to save energy, then that was the only option to actually do that.
Yeah. In fact, it was even featured in a game I used to play called Syndicate, and yeah, basically the last level was you going up to the moon using this elevator. So.
But if they've already been past the Van Allen belts and they've got to the moon and everything, then surely it would have been easy to have made an aeroplane. They'd have loved to have made money going up on a pleasure trip up there, an hour's trip to the edge of to nearly space. They'd have had it all, but they haven't. So you know, another tick for a lie.
You might wonder why they actually built the Tower of Babel. Was that their first space lift?
Yeah, I've often wondered that myself, actually, since finding out about the Tower of Babel. I've got to say, and now they're saying they found where that was situated as well. So yeah, again, it does look like a lot of the Bible stuff starting to come true.
Yeah.
Or lots of the stuff that was talked about in the Bible is being found now. Sorry.
Wouldn't you just like to know all the bits they took out of the Bible? What they said? What those bits said?
Yeah, we'll have to raid the Vatican one day.
The actual destruction of what was it, Sodom and Gomorrah, with the fire, that we never will return to that particular land itself. That still didn't happen. Never came across. It still needs to happen, and that's probably.
Ah, right. Because I've heard they found brimstone at the site where they think Sodom and Gomorrah was.
That's just destroyed by the flood. But there was also a prediction of that it became destroyed with fire, in the sense that
Okay.
in 18th
I like
century.
Go on, Patricia.
Story of Jericho. I like the story of Jericho, the walls of Jericho, where they sounded the trumpet, and it's more along the lines of vibration, isn't it? Because I can sort of relate that to the other information that I've had about the cones that can levitate things and stuff like that. So that makes a bit of sense. But me, the Bible, I just think the stories of what other civilizations and us have found out, and it's just more information. I want the God bit, as you know. The Tower of Babel, though, was about reaching heaven, weren't it? Or have I got that mixed up with something else? And that's why.
Yeah, that's the story from what my understanding. Yeah, but yeah, like I was like Sirius was saying, I'm wondering if it again, like with the stories of the Bible, they are just stories, and maybe it was just misinterpreted to think that heaven meant heaven and not the celestial realm or whatever.
Yeah. I'm quite interested in the stories,
See how far.
but interpretation, isn't it? How you personally interpret it, not as opposed to a vast majority of people, because everyone will see something different, and it's just working out what makes sense to you, you know, to each person rather than a collective. The God part is, I see it as, I don't want to put a name to it, but there is something there. There has to be. You come from, you know, and it's finding that information rather than just taking everything literally as the Bible says. You know, I mean, my son doesn't believe in God, but he said it's a good way to live your life, and I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of war in that book, you know, so that is a good part of living your life.
Yeah,
Not acknowledging war and stuff. And murmuring.
Sorry, my dogs have got out.
People.
it's the seas when you actually take this particular Bible line, Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let's complete the whole matter. Let's complete the matter of the whole truth. Fear God and keep His commandments, because that is the whole duty of man. Fear God is the one thing I see having a conflict with. They fear everything else, but the Most High they never will fear. I don't get it, because when you fear the Most High, you don't need to fear anything else anymore. And that's probably the wise stuff in this particular thinking. That not even death or the devil or whatever threat there is in the world, nothing will scare you anymore, because that's the essence of the actual.
Do you think that in the days when the pyramids were made and all that energy and beams and whatever they were doing, do you think that they had it with the other side then, and that's the bit that's been taken away from us, is to understand the other side more? God, the creator, whatever, that side.
Well, yeah, I see also that there is this particular Israel part in where they are the ones actually receiving the law and the obligation to keep the commandments, an actual obligation, because they were the chosen children in that sense. And that gives them the actual privilege of ruling the whole world. And this is where other nations have conspired together against it, because they never rule the world in that sense, and assume as long as they keep the children in sin, will be punished through their own law by their own God. This is what is kept alive in this world. And more of the original children actually wake up to this and start to keep the actual commandments again. So they get on top again to get the actual rule of the world. This is what is why also the whole world is gathered in the Middle East to make the last World War, the Third World War, and eventually end up hating the beast, hating the dragon, what is America. Not particularly the people, but the establishment in that sense. Yeah, we know that the whole world is actually taken by the beast, taken by the Pope, taken through the UCC, the whole fictional corporation. Everybody has become cattle, the farmer in that sense. And our own ignorance for this whole control part is just what it courts. As soon as we all realize how they work, yeah, there's no way they can even convince anyone anymore to actually do the particular stuff for them.
I think they're in a lot of maps, or a lot of ancient types of maps. They place Israel or Israel, yeah, as the middle, as it was the east. East was their north back then. That was the center there. So maybe before that, or maybe after that, I'm not sure. Maybe it was Egypt with their gold-covered pyramids, conducting these energy experiments or whatever, or being in sync with this or synchronicity that they're tapping into this energy that they knew existed, knew how to work with this stuff, and then slowly that power shift, it came from. I'm saying Israel now. I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah. Do we mean 12 tribes?
Yes, Israel,
or the
12 tribes. Even.
Those are getting confused mostly. I always mean the 12 tribes, and never the country, because the country is created fiction.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually discredit the true Israel. False Jews actually are the synagogue of Satan because because they stole the identity of it.
And they took the center. They called themselves the center, or the middle point, or whatever. Like that was the point where all began. Was right there.
Yeah, Israel itself is the complete 12 tribes, not only one. One Jewish tribe is the actual one actually initiating the whole last day part as complete identity to rule all of the world. Actually identify the other 11 tribes.
Okay.
And then they declare a country the name of whole Israel. Yeah, right. As if Israel's are only Jews. 144,000 are based on all the 12 tribes. 12,000 out of each tribe.
That's where those numbers come from. That makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of what is it? Israel United in Crisis, IUIC. You need to search on YouTube. Good friend of mine, explained a lot of it and showed me a few links of that, and I really watching it for months to get a lot of it. And then I realized it is actually a history book but also a lot of allegories together with the whole astrology part and the actual information in what Santos brings out. Many layers in this, and the most ignored one, history part. Israel never could be replaced. And the way they actually destroyed Israel was by killing the parents and keeping the children. The children in complete new education. And the next generation in a way that they actually completely lost their true identity. This is how they conquered America, the same. The Indians are part of it. Those are also one of the tribes of Israel. Also in Australia.
The Indian, like Hindu, or you mean native?
Think Aboriginal, and you'll find the actual original tribe, or 12 tribes. Jacob had 5 wives. So there are 5 races in that sense.
Yeah, you know, Karen was talking earlier about the black guy writing the Bible and stuff, the King James Bible. Dave Murphy does go on to say that the original inhabitants of the UK were actually black and they were a tribe of Israel, so yeah.
Oh golly.
Spain the same. Yeah.
Does Jacob's Ladder have anything to do with the Tour of Babel? Does that have any kind of allegory to that, or Jacob's Ladder just a...
What was that again?
I thought that had something to do with the either it's, you know, the Masonic Jahum, and, you know, the 2 pillars, and they have that ladder in the middle. I thought that represents the Jacob.
That happened between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Or it's called Jacob. Well, yeah, it could be in a way connected to the family in that sense. They are the ones actually the kings in the actual royalties in the world. Will happen in the sense that all nations will serve them, and like, for example, is also an example of how a nation is actually punished because of what they did to the children of the Most High. It's the same. And in, what was it, in Arabia, the tribes are still slaves. Slaves. And it still exists in this world in that sense. But what I also came across was that in 2019, the fluke of slavery will end. In 1619, 100 years. And there is also a lock on the Bible, on the knowledge of the Bible, the actual meaning of the Bible, for 350 years. So almost 50 years ago, it got unlocked. And this is where it was the time of Martin Luther King, for example, and Malcolm X, and all those movements. But they need to find that way back through the Bible itself. And they needed to learn it from the white man, all their knowledge. And the funny thing is, only they could actually recognize the historical part of it, because they are the ones actually through that history. And this is how they.
Well, Dave Murphy kind of goes into that a bit as well, actually. Sorry. Dave Murphy goes into that as well. He says like there's a difference between like Negroes and black people and stuff like this, and
Negro.
to it. Sorry, I'll shut up for a minute.
Greek, back to black Jew. So it's also in the language. So much hidden in the language of words we always take for granted and then never realize what the actual meaning is.
Yeah, but yeah. If you haven't watched that video that me and Karen have been talking about, it's definitely worth watching it. I'll have to try and find a link for it and put it in the Sun and Moon or something.
It's just incredible. I'm just really amazed that we get to the year 2017 and there's just all this stuff coming out now.
Oh, actually, yeah, sorry. I just remembered the point I was going to make a minute ago, because series is going on about 2019. And that's another date that Dave Murphy 25 brings up, so...
Someone mentioned the year 20, didn't they, last night? It was Jeff. Can't remember. They said the year 2020. That's going to be the year. You said the year 2019, but it might be the year 2020.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the end of the fluke, the slavery fluke, the end of the punishment, because they were sinning against this, of his own children were sinning against it.
Is that why we've all woke up now? They've given us a couple of years to prepare for the awakening.
Yeah, and it's more like, well, they're already waking up. That's what I discovered through ASAP.
Yeah, but if it's coming to the end in a couple of years' time, then the rest will be waking up.
Well, yeah, so far I read that only 1/3 will make it.
Yeah,
2/3.
I've heard of that.
So what?
Prediction of what the rest of the nations is.
So what's going to happen then, series? What's supposed to happen? What's supposed to happen to everyone?
There is a particular thing in that we are allowed to join in, as long as we keep the commandments and actually learn everything what the world is for. The actual reason.
And who's going to follow that then? Because I don't want to follow any commandment.
Well, it's all about actually understanding this. I mean, people just don't want to learn, in that they're not prepared to change in anything. The continuity of their particular familiar loop, where they don't want to get out, but things are going to change anyway. And this is all to do with our own spiritual growth and actually realizing how everything works.
So is it a case of go with the flow, or you can just go?
Or you will be crushed in a way you don't expect.
1 second, series. At the moment, right, we've all had a little bit of a say, but Judith hasn't said anything. Have you got anything to say, Judith, with all our talk?
Yes, when you speak, so I write for me a few things. Okay, I ask myself all the time, why NASA creates this? What they hide? What I ask myself all the time this question. What they have to win from this? What they hide? And I think as long as we speak about space, we forget the ocean. We are not speaking about the ocean. We don't know nothing about the ocean. How deep is the ocean? We don't know nothing about the ocean, and it's here. But we speak all the time about the space, and we have big world and big planet. It's the ocean, and we don't know. We didn't discover this. and I asked myself if we have a map, and when we take airplane, if we know what's going to happen when we are traverse the ocean, because the GPS is stopped tell you where the airplane is. So it's many mystery things happen here, not in the space. So the airplane, how they, what is the map, how they, and what's happening in the ocean, and all this, and oh, about the pyramid. I think everything we speak in this reality, it's human being create. And human being is human being, doesn't matter the color and where it come from, what is history, and human being is human being. It's the same human being, all the history from heaven and kind, from today, it's the same human being. So I try to connect my soul without connecting all these languages. I try to be behind it and connect all this from my soul and not from my body. So I think the pyramid is present me myself. It presents me myself. I am the pyramid. And the eye, it's my eye, is watching all this. And how I react in how I reacting to this life. Am I reacting from my soul? Am I reacting from my body?
Well, everything's been made so that we look up rather than down. Our history is underneath us, buried, petrified beneath us, and they've got us looking into fake space.
It's all about attention. They want everybody's attention, not within, but without.
Yeah.
It's like if you were saying about the pyramids, well, back in the day, or I've always heard that they were gold plated. They had some kind of gold at the top, or they were. I mean, if we are, I mean, our souls or whatever within us has our body form, maybe back in our history we are a type of mineral, like a golden. We were golden. That's it's an allegory. The pyramid would be. I'm just going on what you were saying, but if the pyramid was us also before, I mean, we were also gold plated before. We also had a
well, I have this two sides, Eric. I have this two sides where the pyramids seem to be using crystals, quartz and amethyst, which have amazing properties in them for your spirit, for yourself, for health, to connect to the other side. There's the negative ions they were using. There's all this positive stuff, and then there's all this negative stuff where these pyramids were firing beams out of them. Like, how much energy did they want? And then it's a bit like one day on a hangout, me and Alan were talking about the pyramids, and they were coated with something. So you say the gold thing on the top, but they might have needed the iodine from our blood, which they were painting on the outside of the pyramids, which is why they were, slaughtering everyone. So I'm wondering whether we are the slaves that got away. I'm not sure. The pyramids in one sense seem beautiful and harmonic. You imagine all the crystals and the energies and the vibration. It'd have felt like the Garden of Eden. But then there's this other side, where they were slaughtering people and sacrificing them, and you know, Alan reckoned there's something about the iodine in our blood which might have coated the pyramids. And what we're looking at now is ruins to what they were. I mean, for instance, in Avebury, some of the stones there, I was watching one, it wasn't a NASA or anything like that, it was just a local person, they were dowsing. And the stones had 3 energy levels in them. So these stones were specific for things. It's just, we're just looking at ruins. We're not looking at the magnificence that they were. Because they've been petrified and the big flood and so forth. So I'm not sure now whether the pyramids were a wonderful thing, because they were making so much energy. The whole of the place we live was just a big grid of electricity, and if they were slaughtering us and needed our iodine, maybe we were slaves.
Sort of underground tunnels also are just tunnels that would go underneath the pyramids. Now I'm trying to think that maybe it was blood that they were sending underneath, but now I've heard it was maybe water flowing underneath the pyramid.
Yeah, they needed that because then they make things vibrate. It's all about vibrations and frequencies that made things happen. And they've kept us away from it, haven't they? They've tried to steer us away to space, saying that that's the magnificent thing we need to do. Because one day we're going to go and live on Mars.
Yeah. Use everything here. You can pollute. You can do everything. You know, it's a YOLO life, the YOLO thing, or whatever I don't know what it's called. YOLO, I think. You know, do that and do what they'll. You know, I don't even like saying that stuff, but that's what they want us to. Just, you know, hey, live your life for the moment. There's no use of, you know, thinking there's some kind of future here. But we're going to live on the moon anyway, so I mean, that's. I've been through H3. We're going to go get H3 up on the moon, and then we're not going to use gas anymore. I mean, I've heard that growing up, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, well, when I get older, I won't be using a car. I'll be floating around, and they're selling us one dream, you know.
Well, this bit about your gold, if they were wearing gold, this would help them to like do the Tesla thing by holding something and then a light would come on. You know, the gold was the conductor, but you know how Tesla made a light come on? They were using things like that, so they didn't need to plug anything in. They just used their own bodies with a bit of gold or another conductor on them. There's just so much we don't know.
Plasma and aura photography. I don't know if it's aura photography where they kind of catch the frequencies, you know, that are coming out from all of us. We all have different colors, and we
have an energy field, don't we?
Attributes.
We have our own energy field, our own magnetic energy field. But I mean, what does everybody... I'm going to ask you one by one, because Jaren did say this in this hangout, that I hadn't really heard anybody say that before, but the year like BC AD, the 0 was where we were reset. So that's, say, 2,000 years ago. So if that was the case, what do you think about that then? We all come from that 2,000 years ago. It's not 25,000 years ago or anything stupid like that. It's only a short period of time. What do you think, Eric?
I think there's a whole lot of years that were erased in history for, you know, royalty and religion. I think that a lot of that stuff, they changed dates to fit certain, you know, like I want to be crowned king on the eclipse, so today is the 15th of the 15th of the 15th. You know, they wanted these special numbers, you know, since they're all Pythagoras. They're all pretty much all believe in that stuff. So I think there's a lot of erased time, and maybe that BC and AC. BC. I think there's at least 500, maybe 800 years missing somewhere, or have been erased, just gone, changed. That's all I got on that one.
Thanks,
everything before 1600 is so fake up to 0 point in that sense that you really can't see what.
So we're only talking of a few hundred years then, series.
Well, I'm talking about 1,000 years.
1,000 years. It's still less than 2,000. What do you think, Dee?
500. And if you Google 1649-ish, you'll see why. There's no original documentation before then, apparently.
Yeah, it was destroyed, wasn't it? It was destroyed.
Well, either 1649 or 1469, anyway.
Oh,
That was all the time of the beginning of the Pope. In those years. After 1613. And then you had this particular traveling all over the world and finding America and actually destroying the original children. Good find in that sense.
Patricia, what do you think then about that bit? Like, do you think we're only hundreds of years old, really, this time round, or what do you think?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it, to be honest. I'm not much on history, but I know there's something where, because if you go along with the evolution, when you really look into it, which I haven't really, but they always say, oh, we found this in such and such time, and you're like, and it sort of adds that little bit of time. It's like, why hasn't it been done from the start? Why is it not from the start of the Earth? Or as near as it can get to it, obviously. But it's like next year we might find there's a couple of 100 years that they've suddenly found because they found a fossil or something, and you just think, surely someone somewhere should have a timeline of everything, and it actually be happening, you know, they found the information at that time. I don't know, it's just
I saw a programme which said that anything that's older, they just put it as 4,500 years old. It doesn't matter how old it is, they just call it, that's the age it's called. But don't forget, Dee, how many years was the dinosaurs? Because I got it wrong. How many years were the dinosaurs here?
65 million years ago, they were around for 150 million years.
150 million years! 150 million years! This is like the 17,000 miles of the space station. Sorry, Patricia?
my kids used to say to me when they're coming from school, Mum, you were around when dinosaurs were out. I know I'm old, but not that old.
Oh, that's not fair. What do you think about that bit you did? As we've gone round, what do you think about?
What exactly you ask, Karen?
The
Exist? Human being exist?
Yeah, like, when do you think the reset? Do you think the reset was a few hundred years ago? Do you think it was thousands of years ago?
I have a problem with the time because the time is not exactly like we said. So it's confusing me, but I think we are here only now we are in the 7,000.
What do you mean by that?
And in the Bible, it's from the day He creates all the 7 days. God creates the reality. So now we are the 7,000 year. In Hebrew, we are now in the 6,000 and a few more years. So every 7,000 we start again.
And what year are we in now then? We're not in 6,996 or something, are we? So we've only got a few years left.
Yeah, yeah, to be born again, to be born, and yeah, because if we speak about death and life, death, because death is not exist, it's only change energy. So yeah, it's a big change now, big change. I can't say how big and how it is going to be, but yes, it's going to be a big change now.
So you don't think there's another petrification going to be happening again then? We'll get petrified again.
Next time it's burned.
Oh great, thanks series.
Yeah, he promised no water again. So yeah, what had he left? Fire?
It's okay though, because it doesn't hurt for long apparently, because once your nerve endings are burnt away, it's pretty painless after that, so...
Oh great.
It's only a few seconds of pain, don't worry.
I think it's water, and NASA prepare themselves for this. They are prepared to live in the ocean, deep in the ocean, and yeah, they know a little bit the ocean, so they can have a space in the ocean. Yeah, I believe it. Because they want us to be busy upstairs all the time. So I don't know. So maybe water.
Because me, Earth is like a ground in where we get planted to grow, and those who are actually creating of being the flower are actually capable of producing a seed. And the harvest in that sense is that we are harvested to go to the next level, and everything not growing, everything dying, because there is no ground to actually plant their shells on. Either they get eaten by the birds, like the devil actually picking you out of the ground from the road, because he's then the bird in a sense as using you as the food. But becoming that particular flower and actually become that master level is, if you ask me, the switch to go to the next earth, and I guess in that if we are the middle garden here, and we have the high garden above, and that is where that particular eternal life is. And we are just getting through all these levels to come at that particular consciousness level. And that's the whole story of becoming conscious of it all. And then particularly from that point where you start. In a way, as a human, we are taught that after school, learning will stop, and then the life will begin, and then the only thing you are is a slave for any job available to keep up with your bills, but never actually come to that stage of that we keep learning. And I mean, I'm 44 and I'm still not seeing everything. I need 100 extra years to get it all. There's so much more, and I can see the whole in the sense that I have eaten a little bit of everything, but never enough to actually see the whole detail to the bottom of the knowledge. So in a way I can oversee a bit, but yeah, I really need more time to get more grip on all the details. So, yeah, in that sense, I'm thinking, yeah, learning will never stop. You can learn everything. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be choosing one particular thing as a specialty. You can be a specialist in anything, and to do all the stages of the knowledge to get to the knowledge in yourself. And I figure I'm one of the few having actually the freedom to actually do this, because I'm not bounded by any contract in that sense. I just get my social security. I can start with my own company, although that is restricted now through the sanitizing process of septic sanitation.
And what I thought was, guys, I don't think anybody will mind, as long as we don't really talk about Sid's work, then we can put these out on YouTube, because we've got to slowly.
Just using the abilities of a browser. Information is just public. What you can do is actually structure it in something you can use to actually project it.
But then you have to projection onto a projection. So you have to be very careful with where the two projections form another projection, you see. And that might be a ghost phantom image, you see.
Well, so far I'm only projecting the data in the structure as it comes.
But you've got the concept of the fourth dimension, haven't you?
As of now, I agree.
He's got the conception of the fourth dimension, but series, there's more dimensions. So, does Michelle agree with you on that bit?
Well, it's still,
I agree with the research.
I still need to put the math together to actually project the fifth dimension way that you can actually oversee it all.
Just what I don't understand.
Either the flat or the actual closing of the circles.
What I don't understand is you understand the longitude, so you the east and the west circle around, and you understand that. But then the north and south becomes a problem. And that's because of the system of longitude and latitude is really a ridiculous system. Because
it's a ball projection.
Yeah, well, it just how do you call it in English? It just destroys the data when you come to the edges. Because the Tangus, it's a Tangus, right? Has infinite, and you come into the infinite of the Tangus function, and so it's ridiculous.
It's just a translation of the straight XY to the GPS, to the longitude course.
Yeah.
That's all.
I hate that.
What they did was actually use this, what he calls the Tangus function, with these infinities. They actually needed only 3 squares to project the whole ball projection of the 2 squares of 180 by 360. And this way I can't go beyond the 90-degree latitude, because there's just no data in the request system. Data just doesn't go there beyond that. And that's where I find the edge. It's in the data itself. But if you ask me, there's just no in reality, because the whole flower of life pattern itself demands this single square in east-west, and then at least 13 the other way and 13 the other. And yeah, be bigger than this.
So what about the frequency? What about the frequency barrier? Is that why it's all distorted? Because it's a frequency series.
Well, it's distorted because of the mathematical formulas.
We have, if you take the map, kilometers, and you actually pinpoint a 3 or 4 kilometer area of what your perception circle is, from your position, then yeah, you will see that you never see actually the whole map. And your circle becomes bigger, but it will never reach even the half of it.
Or is this because it's looping?
You have to be at the height of the sun to actually see that.
So where does the looping come into all this then? Because it's looping as well. So where does that all come into it then? Is that another reason why it's distorted?
When you move, you're just always the center. It doesn't matter if you move 1,000 kilometers to the left or to the right.
You're still on the center.
What goes out left comes in right. So in a sense, you're always in the center of the map.
Everybody is
always in the center.
Oh my goodness, that just sounds really freaky. So even if you're on the edge and you moved one way,
there is no edge.
Sorry, the edge. Right.
This is. Yeah, you can't have an edge because we're always
Right.
in the center.
Always in the center. Everybody
In that
is.
sense, it's a circle, but then a fourth dimensional.
Yeah, it's a four-dimensional, but you cannot understand it.
Like I say, draw the flower of life, look at the flower of life, and you'll see the tesseract. That's the square in the circle. That's just me. It just feels right.
Yeah.
So it feels like
What I also did was particularly use this particular paper with the square line, and I drew also the squares with it. And you can see here that you have 3 squares next to each other.
Series, hold it back just a little bit. Just a little bit yeah.
This is this particular way of the repeating of a single square in east-west direction. But then north-south needs way more squares to actually loop into itself. What I discovered with the pattern of the flower of life. And then you have this ridiculous same pattern, but also a quarter turn as the spiritual wheel above, where we see the sun and moon go from east to west.
Yeah.
And what I got out of the book from World Beyond the Pole was that that the realms beyond the north and the south are the celestial realms, in where we see the celestial sky back. Eyes are realms on their own as well.
Oh my goodness.
And this is a fact.
Well, yeah, I'll put my screen on it. I mean, this is what I'm doing at the moment.
There's no proof.
I mean, that's the difference between my flower life look and series. Is
Yes. Nice color.
I've done the chakra colours. It's like red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. Got to the blue at the moment, and I'll go on to the purple and stuff.
The funny thing is, these particular polarities together, in where you have actually the same pattern, but then you turn it towards, and then you will see that the middle circle play of the circle. And when you go out, you need at least 13 squares to end up in the 15th circle in the middle of the square. And these are the areas you see way beyond that. This is what
That's up on my piece of paper.
you need bigger paper.
Bigger paper or smaller circles. Or smaller squares, yeah.
Because you can make so many things in the flower of life, you know, you can make tesseract and all that. This must be all the dimensions. Because if you can turn it, you can.
With flower life's everything. So as far as I'm concerned, it's everything. It really is. You've got the circles, you've got the squares, and from that you can do anything. I mean, you've got what sort of hexagons, which are the strongest and most stable structure in nature. Basically, it's like why beehives go into that hexagonal shape, and you know, the trees, like yeah, trees themselves inside it's little hexagonal things that go up, and that's why these mountains that look like trees look so much like tree stumps. The same thing, they're in these I think it's hexagonal, I could be wrong with the shape, but it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-sided shape, whatever that is.
So what does that mean exactly then? With the trees?
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, it's like the strongest structure, and it's the way you can get the most storage with using the least amount of material, basically.
Right.
So it's the most efficient structure in nature.
So I think they have them in Ireland. I think that's really excellent.
Yeah.
Kind of
You
like,
seem to find them in a lot of places in nature, sorry.
yeah. Listen, guys, I'm gonna hang up for tonight.
Oh,
And it's really nice talking to you guys.
Eric, one moment, I'm coming back. We have to do this now. If Eric's leaving, we have to have a group hug.
Yeah.
Well, it's been really great you've been on the Hangout. I hope you enjoyed it.
I had a great time. Learned a lot today.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. Anyway, group hug for Eric.
Group hug. There you go. Cheers, guys.
Go, Judith. Group hug. Yay.
Patricia.
See you soon on the Hangout then, Eric.
Serious. And Michael in the background. All right, cheers, guys. Have a good night.
See you soon on the Hangout, Eric. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
We've been going for an hour and a half. Do we feel that's enough for the group recording, and then we can just chit chat for a bit, not recording?
Well, yeah, we won't be enough tonight, so chit chat's fine with me.
Well, we've just done a hug.
Yeah.
We've just done a hug. I won't make anybody else do another hug tonight. Oh no, Series is back now. Oh, it's Michelle. Okay then. She has to say goodbye, and that means that Michelle has to do it. We have to have group hug. Come on, Michelle. Group hug. Come on, Dee.
Love you guys.
Yay. Thanks very much, everybody. Hope everybody enjoys listening to this Hangout.